I have a 6-foot fish tank in the corner of my fish room, and it's had the same scape in it for about 3 years now. Definitely overdue for a makeover. The tank is currently housing a small colony of pineapple swordtails, an awesome species, but they will not be going into the new scape, as I have other species I would like to display in this aquarium. Okay, so the first sort of thing I like to do when rescaping an aquarium is removing the old scape. Now, I've got a little colony of swordtails in here I've been watching grow for quite some time now. And I'm going to be moving these guys out of here into this little tank over here temporarily. This is the under gravel filter aquarium that we made a couple of videos back. Just every fish in here. And then I'm going to be removing all the hardscape, removing the gravel, removing the plants, draining the tank right down, maybe even cleaning the canister filter and just rescaping the aquarium. So this little contraption up here is not a mess of cables, although it does look like that. Realistically, it's an internet modem or an extender, because there's a modem over there that doesn't quite reach the TV in there. So I've got like a little extender thing, and it kind of is just like the perfect location on top of this fish tank. So we're definitely going to need to sort of figure out a new system with this. So for now, anyways, we're going to be moving it onto the croc tank. I'm just going to call it a croc tank, the one with the crocodile skull. And then we've got this light here. Kind of a funny story with this light. It's a 6-foot long light, 182 centimeters long. And I haven't been able to find another one like it since. Just removing these lids. Wow. There's a lot more duckweed in this tank than I thought. I haven't taken these lids off in quite a while now. So now it's come time to catch all these little fish out of here. This is going to be no easy task because there's so many of them and there's a heap of plants in the way. I have a little strategy and trick to the madness. Wherever that food went, chuck some food in here, be really sneaky, and then just see how many I can net out. I'm coming in for ya. I'm going to try the sneak attack. They're all very curious. That's the way you get the most of them, like that. The majority is at the start, and then it gets harder from there. So we've now caught the majority of all the fish out of this tank. I know there's a few in here, probably more than I think, but there's nothing we can really do because they're all hiding. So we're just going to move on to the next step, and that's just pulling out all these plants. What a beauty. Look at that. That right there, guys, is a massive Amazon sword. That right there is one healthy plant. It's a shame to rip it out of the ground. So knotted. It's just like a rat's nest. Oh, mate. Yeah, so the reason why I say holy, still going, is because some of these leaves here are as tall as my room. Like, look at that for an aquarium plant, man. That's mad. Crikey. Alright. Where do I even put this, dude? Look at the base of that. That's big, man. Ugh. Trying to not rip leaves off here. Alright. Man. Where do I put this? This is what I mean, man. This is no small plant. It's like wrestling snakes. Alright, wow, there's actually so much more light in this aquarium now that there's less plants. So this is a giant root system. Little baby broadleaf Vallisneria. Big root system. Oh, nice. Look at that for a root system, eh? Beauty. I don't know if we're going to be using this in the new scape because it's going to be a slightly different kind of scape, but we can definitely put these, take that back. Some of these tanks can't fit that kind of thing in there. Chuck them in maybe one of these. So I had to leave this aquarium for a day and it's finally cleaned up enough for us to catch out the rest of these cute little fish and put them in with the other ones. And then we can move on and drain the water and get to what we need to do. Okie dokie. So we got our net and without stirring it up too much, we want to try and catch out some of these fish in here. First is this little pygmy cory. We caught our pygmy. It's just a pygmy cory. I figure if I just get them one by one, eventually I'm going to get there. So now we're going to be draining the water out of this tank. Maybe not completely, but like 80–90% of it will be going. And that's a lot of litres, so this could take some time, and I'm gonna kickstart this off by getting a siphon. The water is now draining this aquarium, which means that we can start aquascaping it, and I've actually drawn up a few different plans of how I want to aquascape this tank. And a lot of them are not going to work just because they don't have the materials. But we do have a few materials and we do want to utilize our Vallisneria and plants and stuff that we pulled out of the tank. So it is going to be a planted tank. We have some wood and rock, so we're going to be using that all in the scape. Now I came up with a kind of cool idea last night, which was an island in the middle and two islands on the side, and then the Vallisneria kind of meets in between and you have like two little caves. But we'll move the rocks around, see what we come up with, and we'll figure it out from here. Okay, so I thought I'd kind of show you a little bit of what's going on in my head right now, what I'm doing, and all that kind of thing. So we've got our rough scape out here. I've been through like 1,000 scapes today, honestly, with different types of wood, like this big piece here in all different locations. I've had other different types of boulders. I've even gone with this thing ain't light. I've put this in the tank. It's this big boulder here. And even this piece of spiderwood. So I've gone through a heap of scapes. I figured out exactly what the scape I'm going for is, and that is sand sloped up in 3 places, the corners and in the middle, because that's where we're going to be putting the majority of the plants. And then I've also gone with this rock, like a moon rock. It's got like thousands of little holes all through the rocks, and I've just clumped them into 3 sections as well to give it a bit of contrast, just from the sand to the plants. And I actually quite like the scape that I'm going with at the moment. I'm happy with it, which is rare, so I've stuck with it. The process with planting these plants is fairly simple. So I guess I can show you guys. There's a huge clump of val up in this tank here. I'm going to take it out now because I'm ready to plant it. So obviously we don't want to use this like 2.5 meter long leaves because they're just going to droop down, and I know it's sad to cut them off, but I've come to a realization that we just can't plant it like this. It's so annoying. I've tried it before. So what we're going to be doing is not cutting all of it off, obviously, but you get a pair of scissors and you kind of figure out how high the tank is, and we'll be cutting it about, there. Oh, so sad. So much leaves, so much growth, but it has to be done. And the next thing that I do is give the roots a bit of a haircut so that I can actually plant them somewhat easy. So some of these leaves are quite wide, so you just go around, give them a bit of a trim. Now this is a little sucker that's come out the side. Depending on where you plant that, you might keep it, but for me, I want as much options as possible. There's even a little, actually, that's its own plant. So what you do is cut it there, cut that little sucker off. Now these roots might be fine if you dig. I cut it a bit shorter. Same with this big guy, it's got some crap in it anyway, so that'd be Blackbeard or something. I usually just go cut it a bit there, and then the planting process is actually fairly simple as well, and I'll show you how I do that. So here's our plant. This is the the broadleaf Vallisneria, and we want to put the big broadleafs at the back, and then the smaller, just regular thinleaf Vallisneria kind of weeding out into the front. And that's just a look I want to go with. I'm also going to leave some room for me to be able to maintain this canister filter intake. So we don't want to plant too close to that. So you just grab this rock and you can position it, there, because you want like a hand's width away so that nothing grows in there. And what you do is you then just go and dig. It's just like planting in a normal garden, right? You just push it in the hole, and sometimes I lean it right to the back of the hole, and then I just fill it in like that. Pretty simple. Stamp it down, because when the water gets in here, it is gonna move things around a bit, and those leaves are just gonna droop down. That's fine. Put them in a spot so they're not in the way for the next plant. And that's it, right? So you move that rock now. Oops. And you can go on to the next plant. And our next plant is another broadleaf here. Stick it in there, just like that. Try to be delicate with them because plants are not super resilient. Sorry if I'm getting in the way. Push it back and just bury it in there. These will fill out, so you don't have to plant them super close to get the effect. This tank is going to grow in, which means it's going to take time for it to get to the look that I'm actually going for. And you're going to actually need to keep almost weeding this little section here because they're going to grow across no matter what. So here's our next plant. This is the thinner Vallisneria, just the regular thin leaf Vallisneria. And we've actually got, I don't know if you can see there's a little plant right there. So that is this tiny Vallisneria. So we might plant another thin one, maybe just under these leaves here. So, but I'm trying to keep the thin to the front for an effect. Smallest to biggest sort of thing. I don't know what it's going to look like, but worth a shot. Bury him in there. Alright, so it's quite tiring. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's getting late. So I better wrap up this plant. Chuck you guys. That didn't make any sense. got the tank filling. It's actually filling in through that jug there so that we don't disrupt the sand, and it should now go ahead and start filling the whole aquarium. We've put the power head, or the return of the canister filter, right in the corner at the bottom. And the reason I've done that is because I don't want it at the top blowing all the Vallisneria leaves all in one direction. I may decide to do that later on as more of like a creek display. But for now, I've put it at the bottom because I want it to clean the bottom over all, like pretty much just skimmer, if I can use that word for this. Skimmer at the bottom all the way over to the intake, which is also at the bottom. So it just cleans it. Other than that, the next clip you're gonna see is of a really cool looking tank. So this is where we're going to end the video. The tank is now cleared up, and I think it could clear up a little bit more, but it's cleared up enough for us to kind of inspect it and see the final product. As the plants grow in and the tank ages, things sort of shift around, sink into the sand, the plants grow and cover up things, make it look more realistic and natural. I actually think it's gonna look like a really awesome aquarium, and I'm actually starting to love it. So thanks so much guys for watching this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed. Don't forget to check back on the channel in about 6 months time to see the update on this aquarium, see how it, transforms into something really cool, what it turns into, and maybe even what kind of fish I've added into this aquarium.